Plezak is here and can go over those, and there are some changes in the personnel.
Right, thank you, Jim. One of the things I wanted to do with you guys was to give you guys some handouts just to let you know. One of the things I know that it's been asked of us from the Recreation Department is to look at our 5-year capital in our buildings because they are in disarray a little bit. So I have some handouts for you. Just these are for you all to look at, and those are individual for all of you, just to let you know about our position, one of the positions that we put in for our budget. As we go through the budget, starting with page 95 and even into 96, we have asked for 3 full-time positions. 2 of those positions we already have in our budget for this year. They are full-time lifeguards, and part of the reasoning for that is that once we switch the hours back from Hummiston Beach Park, we realized that there's a pretty good impact on our part-time salaries that could eventually have hurt us with the new healthcare law. We have been without 2 full-time lifeguards for a while now, and with the impact of that and the impact of the Hummiston Beach hours going back to 40 hours or back to 8 hours a day, we thought it was absolutely necessary so that we could guard our beaches to go with a couple full-time positions. Basically, the change in pay is not there because they are a bargaining unit, and whether they were permanent or full-time, they were paid the same salary. The only increase was in their actual rates for pension and things like that.
Health insurance.
Yes. The other thing to let you know, the third position that we asked for is a recreation coordinator, and a coordinator position was a position that we used to have. It's a full-time position, and it's a $13 an hour position. It's one that we have as a permanent, but we don't have it full-time now. We had it cut down, and we'd like to try and get it back. And the big reason why is that one of the things that we're finding out is that between a supervisor and a director, assistant director, and our other staff, and with everything that's been growing in our department, we need another body to help us out, and one that can actually, who has the certifications, et cetera, and experience to be able to teach our year-round children's program. And when we were looking at the cost, we know that the cost itself to the city is roughly $15,000 to $20,000, but it would go a long way in helping alleviate a lot of stress that's being thrown on a lot of us as staff. Normally we don't do this, but I will tell you that it has been with everything that's been going on in the city and with more events, et cetera, and there are more community events, there's a lot of pull on all of us, and we're feeling it. We've had some really good things happen. I know that there's been roughly, in the city's received roughly $300,000 plus from the community to help out with some of our activities, realizing that the city has had to put in some funding to help out. But I know that for the future we have more community things coming as well. We know that there's a fishing pier that will be coming soon, and we also know that one of the playgrounds, Riverside, will most likely be updated and upgraded with private funding again. When I was looking at our overall budget this year, the real changes in our budget were for salaries, and then the other thing was the 5-year plan. But the one thing that you see when you can look at our 5-year stuff, and even with these pictures, our buildings are really beat up and they're rough. I mean, when you guys go and see them, I know that you guys have seen this too. We're trying not to ask for anything more than just try to get these things back together. I have a saying for myself. It's one of my goals. I'd like to, when I leave, I'd like to find it at least as good as, if not better than I found it. That's my goal. And right now I feel like I've got some work to do. So that's one of my challenges. We've been fortunate enough to get the community on board, but I also know that we still have a long way to go.
Rob, an interesting thing here is I've gone through your entire budget. I don't have any questions. I guess my only question is are we fixing things fast enough?
That is a good question. I will tell you that we've got some work being done on Leisure Square. I know that we had to halt because we have summer camp. In fact, yesterday was an interesting day because I went out there just to check on things and had an issue, and I looked and saw the roof, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the roof. And I talked to building maintenance, and I know they're going to get to it right after summer camp's out because they didn't want to affect the children and everyone out there. As much as I think the most important thing we can do right now is to protect our infrastructure. And I know that the 5-year capital budget is really tight, and I think that our goal, basically our overall goal in this next budget year, was just to try and get the things that we need protected. And then we can go inside and look at the inside and start working on that. Yeah, we could speed that up, but
Well, to some degree too, though, and I know we say this, doing those projects is a function of having people to manage them, put the bid packages together, et cetera. And so not just for his department, but also for purchasing and so on and so forth. We can only actually physically get so many things done in a year. So I think Rob's done a good job of prioritizing those things that need to be done first. But, limited staffing limits the amount of work you can actually accomplish in a year.
Well, let's stick to the general fund budget first, which I said where I am. I really don't have any questions, but let's open it up either to the city council and then to the public for any questions.
I'm all right with it. I've worked with recreation for a number of years, and I've been extremely impressed with Rob Slezak and the way he manages that department. I frankly cannot believe he does all the things that he does with what he's got. So I think if, typically when he comes forward with his budgets, it's more than likely it's probably under what it really should be. So he's been pretty conservative and consistently conservative with it. I'm supportive of it.
How many events do we have?
we have, for our own department, we have roughly around 15, but for the community events now, we help out between 90 and 100. And then when one of the things that I heard David mention were the 5Ks, I didn't include that in the 90 to 100. We help out with those too. That's another 100.
Easily.
Yeah.
So, and it's incredible how things are growing. I went out to I went out to the 4th of July parade, 3rd of July parade, and checked on that. And nice event. 4th of July was like it normally is, insane, but good and safe. It was safe and fun.
When do you get to celebrate our actual holidays?
I do that. I tried that last week a little bit on a couple afternoons. But I can tell you that, it's not just me. It's, as Jay mentioned, I appreciate that. But our staff works hard, and I appreciate them. And I know they're giving it all they got.
Amelia and do either of you have any?
No, I think it's.
I think something, Rob, that's important to show also, whenever there's an event, there is a staff planning process that takes man hours, and maybe give a little overview of what you have to do. Let's just use the Christmas parade as an example. Not a city parade, but we still have to have the coordination.
What happens is you're going to have a person call in or visit us with information saying they want to have an event. So what we do is normally Lori Lee, who works at the court at the community center, will take their call and then give them all the information that they need, i.e. they have to give us the who, what, where, when, why. They have to make sure they give us insurance that lists us as additionally insured with an endorsement, which is something that has to be studied and looked out and passed by the Human Resources Department to ensure that they're doing everything in compliance to protect the city. Then on top of that, what we will do is we'll set up an events committee meeting with the groups to have them meet out with Public Works, Solid Waste, Police Department, General Maintenance Services, Risk Department, our department, and go through the events and talk about the logistics of the event and make sure that they ensure that they're going to have a good, solid event, that we're doing everything to protect the city's interests, but also to make sure that they have a good event, an event that they can surely appreciate. And
we're talking like things you don't even think about: cones, barricades, trash receptacles, loading stages up and down.
We do everything but walk behind the horses and clean up.
We've actually done that before. It's the Christmas parade. I got off of that one. That was a good one. I didn't have to follow that one, but I did that for the first one.
That's going to be added to city
But the
manager's
horses
fee.
were, the horses a share. And again, that was that was one of those events where when I went out there, the idea was going to be to ensure and make sure that it's going to be okay. But it wound up being such a big event, you needed to have crowd control. Which, wow, when they put in their paperwork, they basically thought that they would only have 500 to 1,000 people that watch it. And it wound up being, they had probably well over 1,000, maybe 500 to 1,000 just at the staging area. And then when you went through the parade, that was another 5,000 to 10,000. So, and we want to make sure that when folks have their events, we think it's a great thing for the quality of life of the people in our community. And it's important. And I think that we want to make sure that their events are as successful so that they'll come back and do it again and bring something else more to our community for people to enjoy.
The public support that we've gotten for the parks and for the gazebo, was that solicited or did that just come forward?
A lot of people just come forward. I will tell you that, for instance, the gazebo was a situation where Jeff Matthews, who's our manager over there, he had a discussion with Bev Paris, who's a private citizen, and said, I would really love to have this because we have so many people there out in the sun, and they would like to have something where they can, get together and then also find some shade and have activities such as parties and things like that. And she went out there and raised the monies through the fundraising for Fund Committee and everybody else, and had 35, and then another one was Kelly Delaporte to Go Play Vero, and her group, that whole group with the Humiston Playground. She called and she was, I remember talking to her the first day or two, and she was pretty frustrated. And I just let her know that times are tough and these are the situations. And I had a person, Patrick Toole, who was a person who was part of the tennis. I don't know if you remember the tennis. We were looking at having a professional tennis.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick had said that he would want to help out. So between Kelly and Patrick, they were able to talk it out and figure out a plan of making it happen. And then they met with Patty and myself, and we met out with them, and they developed this whole idea and went with it and ran with it. And now it's really a great thing. Yeah. So we've got
the
Humiston
buggy bench with the sun shades.
Sunshades have been great.
So, quite a few groups.
We realize there's some expense to the city and everything, but I also know that it's also going to bring it back so much with the quality of life.
I think I've forgotten the year. Was it 2008 that the county dropped helping us for $650 or approximately dollars? Was it 2008? Is that or 2002? I think the interesting thing about that was that the city has gone on providing recreational support to the entire community, and of course Vero Beach is much larger than just Vero Beach, the attitude about it. And I think that's quite a tribute to our recreational department that they've carried on despite that piece of history.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We really do appreciate it.
Mr. Gorey, would you like to come forward?
Just before anything else is said, now I know we're giving Rob all these accolades and everything, but Patty is the number one person that's really keeping him organized.
And she's been run ragged too.
She's Warren. Right.
Peter Gorey, I'm chairman of the Finance Commission. I just, as an overview of all of the, essentially reaching the end of the general fund, just want to make a couple of points. And Rob, this has nothing to do with you. It's systemic of the, on page 96 of the budget book. And I'm going to address personnel courses. On line 1, operating salaries went up 121,000, minus 52,000 for elimination of the part-time, which is a net of $67,000 in salaries. However, look down at pension contributions, of $38,000, Social Security of $5,000, and hospitalization insurance of $35,000. Therefore, for a $67,000 increase in salaries, there's a $78,000 increase in benefits. Let's go to then the entire $1.7 million that is initially proposed in the millage. Of the $1.7 million, $1.1 million are personnel costs, total personnel costs. And how are they divided? Roughly $600,000 are in salaries, but $500,000 are in benefits. So this is not under the control, obviously, of the individual managers. But I think it is sobering to see what the impact is. And if I can just go forward to some of the issues that Councilman Old brings up, is that, I won't take too much time, that in 1970, the county was 33,000, City of Vero Beach 13,000. Today, the City of Vero Beach is 15,000, and the county is 140,000. The county is growing, and the city, almost as a vice, is providing services. So it's not only, Randy, as you point out, today, but as we go forward strategically looking in the future, how is the growing projections of Indian River County going to impact the city of Vero Beach? And the services that Jim, his team, and the council have to mull over in order to have all of those services provided for our visitors, for our tourists, and so forth, and reasonably the assets that we do have in the enterprise funds that do provide 6% to provide and sustain some of those services that we are providing for the rest of the populace. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your comments.
Just if I could recap a couple of those numbers, though, because I want to make sure everyone's kind of clear on the pieces and parts of it. There are really two pieces to the salary rises and two pieces to the rises in the various personnel costs, and they aren't together. In other words, the increase in salaries of $641,000 is partially new positions and partially the 3% across-the-board raise that has been proposed. The rises in the costs of pension and the costs of health insurance are in large part natural rises in costs that have nothing to do with the new positions. We had an increase of over 4% in health insurance costs for existing employees. And we also have the new defined contribution plan, which, as we've talked about, there's a difference between the city's normal contribution to the DB and its normal contribution to the new defined contribution plan. So many of the increases in personnel costs would be there regardless of the new positions. All right, those are natural rises in cost, and so it's not really, hey, there's an extra $60,000 in salaries and an extra $60,000 in the costs of pension and health insurance. A big part of that would be there regardless of Rob's new positions or regardless of the new positions in any department on the existing salary base. So it's really two pieces and parts there.
What of the 640, Cindy? How much is positions and how much is the 3%?
Of the 640, there's actually three pieces to that. Okay. About 297,000 is the 3%. 245,000 is the new positions. And 120,000 is moving those risk management people from HR into the general fund. Remember, we talked about that. So it's really those three pieces.
Okay, and the benefits, well, that's okay.
I mean, we can go there if you want. I mean, I have the breakout, but
no, that's okay.
Too confusing.
I'm fine. Can we move on to page 99 through 102, which are the expensed recreation items? I don't have any question about any of them, but any of them is fair game.
I'd move to the other one.
Go ahead, Ms. Turner, do you have questions about any?
No, I don't on those. So we're going to go to the capital.
If
capital
no one
budget.
has any questions on the expensed items, then I guess we're okay on all those, correct? Radio, computers, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Mr. Daigle, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. For the record, Ken Tague, 1846 21st Avenue. I have a question of your rec director, please. The community center has an awning out front. It's been tattered and ripped up and worn out for quite a while. Is that in a repair situation anytime soon? It does look pretty bad. A lot of people pass it. People go into the Heritage Center. Not a very good presentation. That's my question. Is it going to be replaced, and when, if it's in your budget?
It's in 15-16's budget.
What pages are we on? 40? Thank you very much.
If you want the overview of all the expenditures in one place, if you look at page 5, that'll give you a good overview of what's programmed in total. See the header recreation. These are all the projects across the 5-year span, and then beginning on page 40 are the detailed descriptions for each project.
Well, I think we should, in light of Mr. Dake's comment, we should start on page 40. And, the first one on page 40 is Royal Palm Point improvements. And it's the fountain system that has been a problem and needs maintenance. So does anyone have any comment on that? We're talking about is spending $85,000 on it. I think it's probably needed.
And just to let you know, that was one of them that we had for this year in our budget for $100,000 for this year, and we think we can get some of the work done this year, and then we moved the $85,000 over for next year.
Well, we'd appreciate more this year.
Yes.
We move things forward, take pressure off.
My thing is
gone.
we have $100,000, and it's basically what we're
Kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I know. We've got it broke.
Got 2
To
months
let you know,
left.
Royal Palm Point is broken in. We have 4 different pieces that need to be done, 4 different things that need to be done, and we think we can get a couple of them done this budget year, and then the more expensive ones are for next year. And it's just a carryover.
Weren't we going to solicit the new project next door to it? See if they could do some funding?
Yes, sir, we were, and they are helping us with the access to the waterfront and some of those things. They have not committed anything to the fountains.
They've turned it down, or are they just not committed yet?
They have not committed yet. We've had other challenges as to the water access, who's going to maintain that and operate with that, and we've worked out some agreements in that respect. The fountains were a little bit farther down the pike from that.
All right, are we okay with page 40, the fountain repairs? All right, moving to 41, this is $105,000 in 16-17. I guess one thing I'd question is, can you wait that long with the 1999 air conditioner, at least for that piece of it?
Well, with if that's center stage, and what we've already done the work on just to let you know, we've replaced those air conditioning units, so that was part of this year's budget, 14-15.
Okay.
And then the 16-17 is more of the shell itself is becoming problematic. We're constantly having repair work because we have water coming in from a couple different breach areas, from the floor and from the roofing, and we think that there's going to need to be some work done on that. In addition, one other thing that's been asked of and discussed is to try to have a family viewing room. The family viewing room that we initially had proposed in that facility is just not adequate. Unfortunately, it's almost the size of Patty's office. It's almost like a closet. And what I will tell you is that we're asking to try and have that brought out a little bit more so that we can allow parents to come enjoy their kids participating and watching their kids doing the gymnastics program.
How many kids are in that gymnastic program?
We go through roughly 1,000 to 1,300 a year, and I can say there's a fair share of repeaters, but they have a lot of kids that participate, and those kids also, the great news is those kids, a majority of those kids get to participate in either performances like the circus or the Christmas drama, so they get to be stars for a couple days too.
Right, thank you.
Does anyone have any comment on page 41, or can we move to 42? Okay, we're on 42, which is shuffleboard courts.
Yes. else? Shuffleboard courts, to let you know, the shuffleboard courts, we had a shuffleboard group come in, the shuffleboard court club come in and say, and took pictures of their courts saying that, bless you, that the courts are going to need work. And we haven't worked on those courts since 2004. So I think it's time to get those resurfaced so that they can have the courts that they want. And that's something that we need to have happen. It could be a safety factor, too, if it really becomes a little bit more enhanced.
Are they well used?
Yeah, they've got a nice, solid group. They're pretty dedicated group, too. So, yeah, they are, actually. Now, what I will tell you is we do have, I think, for this one, 9,000 for possibly a playground slide. And to let you know, I have a feeling that one will, hopefully, that's part of it, that I have a feeling that one will be paid for through one of the private groups.
Private groups.
As part of the enhancement to Riverside Park's playground.
What is the slide worth? Just curious.
9,000.
If that happens, will you be able to move up the shade covers to a piece of pie?
Yeah, I think we could do that if that's okay. I mean, yeah, we probably could. It's
I mean, contingently wise, you might as well.
$7,000.
Put in as much money as you can actually spend in any given fiscal year.
I know how that is, and I know that we have this. Sydney has this with
having
me
it in the
because she
budget
knows
and
it's
spending it are two different things.
I know.
So tell me what you're really
And
going
that's
to
where-
do.
yeah.
That's my.
we have this
thing.
discussion. It's a good one. Yes, if we can work that out, we'll do that.
All right, page 43, Leisure Square for 170 this year, 190, 265 the following year. About 4 months ago, I went through it. You know, I tell you, the bathrooms, the shuffleboard court, the pictures are accurate. It really needs work.
It does, and this is kind of a work in progress, and these numbers, I'm hoping these numbers will go down. I know I'm probably crazy to say that. One of the things that we want to do is we want to protect the shell and everything else for the exterior. But on the long term, I know that the first year we're planning for planning and permitting, and I'm hoping that I might be able to get somebody to help sponsor that too. And the idea with them is hopefully they'll come back with a plan that will really make the place come back to life and also provide something that could be economically satisfying from their plan. I'm also looking at possibly consolidating our recreation admin and try and have us go over there as well. If we can figure out a plan to make that happen, that would also help save some money in the city.
Where would you go?
That would be part of the plan. Is I think that there's some room that we could work possibly in that main building.
That Leisure Square?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it would have to be something.
On the left there
yes, you would have to. There has to be some good creativity to make that happen. I mean, really. I know you know that. So, that's part of the thing as we go along. The other thing what's really important is, especially for next year, the health department has come down on us about re-marciting the pool. We have to have it done. They've actually wrote us a letter and said it has to be done during this next budget year period, or you're shutting the pool down, which is a big expense.
If this gets the job done, personally, I don't have any problem with it. I wonder if it does, but that's another.
I know that's one where the last time it was done was around I think we paid about $80,000. So I'm really hoping that, and it's been a while.
How much is the awning for the entrance?
The awning for the entrance, since we have that was only about $7,000 or $8,000, and we have that. That will be going up once the roof work is done.
Okay, so the facility awning, then in 16, 17, would that be about the same amount of money?
No, it's more. Really, the facility awning is, if you could picture your walkways, when you walk through, there's that long, and there's...
Okay, so you're talking about the covered walkways.
Yeah,
Got you.
covered walkways for people.
Okay.
I don't remember how bad they're red, right? Aren't they?
They're green.
Green? Boy, that's, well, I'm colorblind.
No, they are red. They are red. They're red. They're pink. They're pink.
Pink at the
You're
bottom.
right. They're pink with
Sun
There you
bleach.
go.
holes in them. They're pink. Pink with holes in them. Yeah.
Well, and, are we happy with the holes? I'm not.
Well, we're not. Again, my thing is that what I'm kind of the plan, and I know that the 304 is a real challenge, but part of the plan to me was let's try and take care of as much exterior work first, and then move into the interior and these other these other areas.
Yeah, but you secure the shells that you're not getting water and rain and when any further damage to the structure itself, that you can secure that and move on. I think it's a good plan.
Something that can't be overstated, and it's what Cindy's been saying, and I think Rob agrees, along with other various department directors. There's only so much work that you can get, and one of the problems that we inherited in our CIP, when Cindy and I first came on board, we had all these dream projects, and it looked unbelievable. And then, to our understanding, you get about 25% of them done. And so it just inflated numbers. We're trying to get projects that we can actually go through the process, do the bidding, and have the backup, because it takes a lot of support to get our requirements done in here to get a project actually done. Rob just can't go out and hire somebody and say, hey, put the awning up. So it's a different process.
Amelia, do you have any problems with this page, or are we okay?
No, I just wish we could make it bigger.
Yeah.
I do, because, I mean, it's this slow patch back together, over time. And by the time you get to some of the other stuff, those first patches are having to. So I know it's a process. It's a process.
It's the consequence of it took a long time to get in this shape, so it's going to take some time to climb out of it. I mean, that's
it
that's
was
just
ignored.
the fact.
It was ignored.
Yeah.
That's all there is
Had we
to
been
it.
keeping up all along, there wouldn't be some huge backlog
Right.
push of projects that need to be done. And so maybe in the future we'll program to stay on top of it once we get there.
It's a good lesson learned.
It's not unlike a lot of governments around here. I mean, we went through the recession as well and had to accommodate that, yeah.
All right, does that move us to page 44, which is awning at the community center, which looks terrible? And
Yeah, the exterior of the community center is a main player in next year's budget, along with, I don't know if you've noticed inside, even the shade structures on the windows are all broken and frayed, and we're just trying to replace those and eventually get into the inside. But we got to get the exterior taken care of, including that awning. The building is definitely got some holes in some of the facade.
I suppose I'm just nitpicking, but awning in 18, 19, $10,000, it's becoming stained and frayed, yet we're going to wait 4 years to fix it. I mean, that's kind of entertaining.
That's the stage curtain.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's shot, it's shot. I think you should move it up someplace, but anyway. If it's gone, it's gone. What are we going to do? Why don't you move it in 16, 17 anyway?
We've kind of had a feeling that, okay, if you're mostly protected, okay. I mean, it doesn't look great, but.
We're a first-class city, and I'm committed to that, and we don't need a third class.
We understand.
Why don't you move it up a couple of years if no one objects?
We can't go negative at the bottom of any of those years.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So I'll work with Rob and we'll slide some things around if we can.
Peace.
Can't have a negative number at the bottom.
My favorite, River House.
Yep. River House, mostly exterior the first year, and then we go interior after that.
What kind of shape is that structure in, considering that it flooded in 4?
Relatively good shape. They definitely had to do some base work. The water came in about 2 feet. I believe it was roughly 2 feet high into that building, but we had the work done. The actual structure itself is pretty sound. The roof is fairly sound. Right now, it's just mostly exterior doors, windows stuff that needs some work, and that stuff really wasn't affected through the hurricanes, but just the wear and